So for people who don't know, who is Banksy? In the movie, you only see him in the shadows with his face obscured and his voice distorted. By a bizarre coincidence, the second person on the show this hour with a distorted voice, but you know him. What can you tell us about him?
He's an artist who has put a lot of great work up in public and prefers to stay anonymous. I think both to give him the freedom to do what he wants to do and the freedom not to have to do things like this.
Like what?
Like this, be on the radio, do press. He controls the way his message is put out very carefully, and I think that's also having to do with his idea that the young kid aspiring to change the world is a lot more inclined to do so if they can project their fantasy of who Banksy is and emulate his model rather than have to deal with the disappointment of him just being a regular mortal.
And why is he important? What's the significance of his art?
He's important because he's put really smart political commentary out on the streets that's accessible, it's populist, it's and it's in a sense both profound and very, very basic. When I see a Banksy, I frequently say, that's an idea that resonates through and through, but I didn't think of it.
Give me an idea of one of your favorite Banksys.
Well, there's so many of them that are great, but I think when there's a little girl holding a balloon that's shaped like a heart that's let go and taken by the wind, this idea of loss, I make art because I'm not a good enough poet. All these ideas of validating being a human. Things against war, the helicopter with a Christmas bow around it, things that take something that we're familiar with and actually make it as absurd as it should be again. The idea of war being something we totally accept, he really takes it and makes it as absurd as it should be. The idea of Bush landing on the aircraft carrier with the applause sign being held up. I mean, these things are ridiculous, and we should recognize them as ridiculous.
So explain the premise of the film, or let me take a shot at it, and you can elaborate, because it's kind of complicated. Terry started filming you and other street artists. He's a compulsive video shooter. He promised to make his film with his rare footage. Turned out he had no idea how to make a film. So Banksy takes over the footage and makes this film about him. Terry becomes Mr. Brainwash, this ridiculous poseur, has a big show in L.A. in 2008, and the film becomes Banksy's critique of the art world. Is that more or less what happened? Yeah, that is. And, truth is stranger than fiction. A lot of people think it's some sort of art prank, and really it isn't, but it's a very shrewd way of turning the tables on a situation that was very inconvenient for Banksy and for me. Terry had this great footage of us, and we make street art. It's short-lived, it's ephemeral, and we both felt like large chunks of our lives were missing because Terry was holding them hostage, and Banksy was just smarter about how he dealt with the problem, which was, I will tell this street art story through telling the story of Terry, and then also, as he always does, comment on the very thing he participates in. You know, he's made graphics of both hipsters lined up to buy "Destroy Capitalism" T-shirts, and this idea of really illuminating the good and the bad, I think, is an important aspect of this film. Some people have had a somewhat similar critique of your work, that you take other people's images and appropriate them and then sell the work for more money than, say, the photojournalist who took the photo would ever get for their shot. What do you say to that? Well, I think that everything builds upon the past, and I'd like to think that what I'm doing has more ideas, more substance, maybe not more originality. Who knows? But I think it's coming from a place in me that is honest and authentic and inspired. And Terry's work is really it's a pastiche. And stuff I did earlier in my career, I was developing
my aesthetic, and a lot of that was through emulating things I admired. But it took years for that to incubate into an art career. Terry did that in about a year and a half. He hired a huge staff of people. Terry is Mr. Brainwash, by the way. And also, he doesn't even know who some of his subjects are. You know, I actually genuinely care about the subjects in my work. They're people that really inspired me. So, you know, I think that's a
So it's about
distinction.
genuineness versus commercial motivation.
I don't even think Terry's motivation is commercial. I think it's very LA centric in that he just thinks that it's about fame. It's about exposure and fame. And you know, part of me believes that the idea of getting work out there and making a splash, especially in a sea of mediocrity, why not? But I definitely don't think it should be selling for a lot of money.
And you're working on a piece on Houston and Bowery. Is that sanctioned by the city, or are you breaking the law there?
No, that's I'm not breaking the law there. I'm actually on probation right now, so I'm being very careful about my outdoor activities. That's a wall where Keith Haring had originally done a mural in the 80s, and it's owned by a guy who's friends with Jeffrey Deitch, my gallerist, and they offered me the wall. It's a really, really great wall. Thousands of people go by there an hour. So it's it's going up right now.
And the New York Times, Jeanette Katsoulis, wrote about the film that it's a film that looks like a documentary but feels like a monumental con. And it's not surprising, given Banksy's reputation for stunts and subversive acts, that this question comes up. Vanity Fair asks it too. You've been out in the press insisting that it's the real thing, which to some people only makes them more suspect that it's fake. Try again. Is it real?
Yes, it's real, and anybody who sees the film that sees when Terry meets me at Kinko's in 2000, and I look a good bit younger, and so does my wife. That sure, the moon landing might be faked, and Obama might be from Kenya, but it's probably difficult to take 10 years off a person's life.
You and Banksy have mass appeal, but I think it's fair to say that you aren't the stars within the high-end art world. Is that the way you like it?
It's just not my aspiration. You know, and as far as I think that street art's an important movement that should be recognized in art history. If that would be helped by being an art star, you know, maybe I would care about it, but not in any further capacity than that. I just I want people to be inspired to participate. It's about expression and democracy to me. It's just how I choose to communicate.
How do you feel about Obama at this point in his administration after you've been so associated with the Obama Hope poster?
I'm in a lot of ways disappointed by Obama. I'm glad the watered down health care plan went through because it would have been political death for Obama otherwise. And, you know, when you listen to the stuff McCain's saying, it reminds me that we could be in much worse shape. But, you know, I don't think he's the guy who was going to transform things the way I wanted. But then I just fall back on the idea that it's my responsibility to push for the things I care about and not leave it up to Obama.